Well, hello again, and welcome back to the studio. I'm Gary, and this is Thirsty Deer Studio. If you're new to the channel, welcome. This is a music channel. We make music on this channel. I make music on this channel. We talk about gear, we talk about classic recordings, and classic players, and classic pieces of gear, and this video is no different. Except for I took my time with this video. This goes all the way from unboxing a classic piece of analog outboard gear, an 1176 compressor, and goes through recording with this piece of gear. And this is a different demo. This isn't your average YouTube demo where people mix through the piece of gear and A-B just by throwing it on a track as an insert and A-B it to a plug-in. This isn't that. We're recording through this gear. The first thing I did after I unboxed this was I had a song ready to go, and I tracked vocals on that song through this compressor. I was waiting on this compressor to track vocals because I wanted them to go through the compressor. I don't think outboard gear is necessarily for everybody, but depending on your workflow, maybe if you're a YouTube creator or if you're doing a lot of vocals, I think a compressor can be a really handy thing to have around and can add some dimension to your recordings and make things easier to edit. So we're going to talk about all that. I'm going to put timestamps in the video so you can skip through. The first thing we're going to do is unbox, and you can see the time progression because I had longer hair on the unboxing video, and just the way I was doing the video was different. I was kind of keeping it a secret on the unboxing what the piece of gear was. We're not going to do that. I want to tell you what the piece of gear is from the jump because this is a classic compressor released in 1967 by Bill Putnam. We're reviewing the Audioscape 1176D, which is the blackface version, probably the most well-known version of this compressor. And I'm going to take you through the vocal tracking, and we're going to listen to that, listen to how it pulls things forward in the mix in a way that I don't think plugins necessarily do as well. And we're also gonna A-B tracking a bass part on a new song that I'm working on. And we do it in a way where it's a split into DI on my TG2 mic preamp. So we're splitting going into both sides of the TG2. One side of that is getting the 1176 before it actually goes into the computer. So this isn't really mixing through the 1176. This is tracking, and I think a lot of you are making music in your studios and are probably interested in how compression works going into the computer, committing to it. And that's not what I see on YouTube a lot. I feel like maybe it's the easy way out to just throw it on an insert and do an A-B comparison with the plugin. We're going to use it to actually make some music, record some vocals, and you're going to see all that. I'm going to do screen captures, and I'm going to do timestamps. So jump ahead to what you want to see in the video. Find out if analog compression or analog hardware in general is something that's going to work for you. Is it something you even need to spend money on? Let's jump in. Well, hello there. Welcome to the studio. This is Thirsty Deer Studio. I'm Gary, and I thought maybe you would like to be a fly on the wall as I open a piece of classic analog goodness. This is a sexy box right here. And let's just have a conversation. Anything you guys want to talk about, drop it in the comments. We'll talk about it. Maybe not on this video, but on the next one. Do you all have any guesses on what this analog piece of gear might be? It's a classic, and I think you'll be interested to hear this one. I know I was, and I am, and I can't wait to get it in the rack. So drop your guesses on what this is in there quick, because we're going to get it out in just a second. But where I feel like you get the most from analog gear is tracking with it, because tracking with it on things like vocals, which is a big reason why I got this, because I'm having to do a lot of work in post. Even using the plugin of this analog compressor, I still have to go through and clip gain things because I'm not getting this going in. And some of the greatest mixers in the world will tell you, you don't really need analog hardware now. It's just a different sound than the plugins. Not better, not worse. People like Andrew Sheps and Chad Blake mix completely in the box. So who needs a piece of gear like this? Who needs an outboard compressor? I don't think everyone does. I think actually it's a good piece of gear for YouTubers because they have to do a lot of work in post for voiceover work. And this will help that. What I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to track through this, and I'm going to do a split of the instruments I track. Bass I know I'm going to do, and I'm going to split it, one going into one side of this Chandler mic preamp, one going into the other side, and only one of them going through the compressor on the way to the computer. So you can hear what it's like to track with this classic piece of analog gear. And what it is the Blackface 1176 from Audioscape, the Rev D 76. I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the plastic, get it in the rack so we can hear some sounds through it. Alright, I'm going to record some acoustic guitar on a new track, and we're going to do it through the 76D. So the signal chain on this is going to be the Taylor 310 into United Studio Technology Twin 87 into my BAE 1073 MP, and then we're going into the 76D. It's set at 8-to-1, medium attack, fast release. We're just going to get this part captured, and if we need to do any editing after the fact or any EQing, we'll do that. But let's just get this part into the computer and see what we got with the compression on. Alright, I want to run you through the post-processing that went on this track. Very little processing after the fact. The compression made everything very even. I did have to chop the track up a little bit. Even when I'm direct monitoring with OBS, there's some latency problems that happen, so I have to fix certain parts of the track, line up the ones in places. It'll be hit and miss on the latency. Sometimes it'll go along great, other times it'll get delayed. So we did that. You can see that in the track, but this is the track that we recorded for the video. I didn't want to go back and do another track to fill in. I wanted to use the track that I actually recorded on video. So what you see is what you get. And I'm doing very little post-processing, just some EQ. On the Neve, it's first. I put the Neve channel strip first. I'm doing a little boost at 12K and a high pass at 70. And on the SSL channel, that's from Waves, I'm doing another high pass a little higher. I think it's around 100. Yeah, 100. And I'm doing a bump at around 10K at 8 dB at 10K, and then I'm doing another bump at 1.5K, that's 7.5 dB, And I'm doing a cut at 360, that's minus 4 dB, and I'm doing some gating just to get out my breaths and this chair squeaking, things like that in the track. And anything that the gate won't get out, I clean up, but the gate usually does pretty well. So that's all for the processing. The 76D did great. It evened things out, gave me a sound I like, a little bit of distortion in there. Not so much that it's really noticeable, just enough to give it some richness and get it to cut. And very little processing after the fact. The main thing was doing those edits. You can see I had to edit parts of the track quite a bit, but it's just getting those notes lined up. And this is a normal thing with studio work. You know, you have to get your tracks in phase, get them sounding good. It's a lot of work to make a song sound good, but the 76D definitely helps that process. If I wouldn't have had OBS on, we wouldn't have had to do nearly as much editing on the track. Now I want to track some bass on this song through the 76 Rev D, and I'm going to do this in a different way than I've really done in the studio before. I'm coming stereo out of a guitar pedal, going into both sides of my Chandler TG2 mic preamp, and one side is going into the Audioscape 76D and then into the interface. The other side is just coming straight out of the TG2 into the interface, and they're both going to be a great sound. This Chandler preamp, the TG2, is the Abbey Road preamps that Chandler's known for. But the first time I played bass through this 1176, I was really floored by the sound. I had been using the best plug-in compressors you can get in my music and sounding great, but they really didn't do what this did tracking. It's immediately the way the feel is when you're playing, and the sound you're getting is like records, and there's a lot less work you have to do. I've got a pretty simple bass part that I'm going to play over this song because there's some dissonances and some rubs in the guitar part that I really want to let shine through and speak. And I feel like most times bass is best left simple anyway. We're going to track this in, and then when we go back and listen, we'll A/B both uncompressed and compressed signals with the music and in solo. So let's track this in and see what we get. Let's listen and compare the two bass tracks I just recorded. I have them both at the top of the screen. The top track is the bass with the 76, and the one below that is the bass with no compression. We're going to run through with the music playing first and switch back and forth between the two signals. You can see just by looking at the tracks that the compressed bass track on top is a lot more even than the one below it without compression. And also, the top track is 2 dB louder on the track than the uncompressed signal, and the uncompressed signal is still peaking above the compressed signal. I did that level bump to match the two sounds closer to your ears so you're not getting some bias just off volume. There are two edits in both the tracks, the same places, just where I was getting some overtones playing a little close to the fret. That was operator error on my part. But let's listen. We'll go with the music first, switching back and forth, and then we'll do it in solo. it's a little harder to tell with the music going, but the bass with the compression on is definitely much more even. And this does make things like editing easier. It gives you a more even sound throughout the track, which is what you're going for with compression on bass. It's especially playing with your fingers. If you're somebody like me who bass isn't your first instrument, the playing can be uneven, and this really fixes that going in, so you don't have to do anything after in post. You just track the bass with the compression on. It's even and a lot less work. So let's go through and listen in solo, so that way you can hear a little more clearly what the compression sounds like. Once again, this was 12-to-1 compression, medium attack, fast release. So hopefully that highlights a little more clearly what the bass compression is doing on the track. For me, the process of having this compressor on tracks going into the computer, whether it's on vocals, on acoustic, on bass, is just making things easier for me in post-production, and you can use it very easily to color your sound and give you a different effect depending on how you use it on each track. Alright, let's listen to the vocal on this track. The lead vocal was done with 4-to-1 compression going in, medium attack, fast release, and then there's another vocal that comes in. It's a double. I sung the double all the way through, but I bring it in and out using mute automation in the DAW, and this was done at 8-to-1, same attack and release settings. And we're just going to play through and listen to the track. Alright, you can hear there how the 1176 is just bringing the vocal forward. And this is the thing that I couldn't get on most of my music with plugins. It would do it to an extent, but this really puts the vocal right in your face and puts it right in the middle of the track. It makes it have more of a pointed sound. It sounds very rock and roll, and it's a thing that I couldn't really get with the plugin to this extent. The plugin sounds a lot alike. I like to use the Purple Audio 1176 or the UA, either Blue Stripe or Blackface Revision. And those are great sounding plugins, but this hardware unit has something different. And when you're tracking through, you can look and see there's a lot less clip gaining you have to do. I want to wrap this video up by talking about who's going to benefit most from having a box like the 7060, from having outboard compression. But before I do that, let me mention that if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to grow the channel. I do a lot of videos highlighting gear like this in what I think is a different way than what you get from most YouTube channels. It's all about the music here. I'm going to keep making music, so I hope to see you around. I think if you're doing any kind of acoustic instruments, and by that I also mean electric guitar, playing real instruments, not using all software stuff, that has the compression built in if you're using software instruments doing electronic music. But if you're looking for coloration or looking just to make your editing easier, a box like the 1176 or the 76D is going to be great for you. I think it's a great color box. It can really give you a different sound and just take your music in different places just by adding distortion from pushing the compression. There's a lot of different things you can do with this box, and I think the 1176 is probably the most versatile compressor, maybe aside from the distressors. What I hear about those, they can do lots of different styles of compression, from optical, VCA, and even emulate an 1176. But the 76D is a great entry point. It gets you classic analog compression from the most classic compressor at a great price point, and I feel like it's a better quality than other brands that are doing recreations of classic gear. So take a look at the 76D if you're going to be in the market for a classic style compressor. Also, if you're a YouTuber, this is going to help your workflow tremendously. I'm always clip gaining my dialogue, my recordings that I do just of talking into the microphone like this. I always have to adjust levels, clip gain, and that's a big reason why I bought this box as well. This 1176 compression really makes things smooth, and then you can, instead of having to clip gain individual phrases or sections of your dialogue, if it needs to be bumped up, it's going to be the whole clip. So you can raise the whole clip gain it, or just bump it up with the fader and get where you want to be without having to chop things up and adjust clips individually. It's really a great thing for workflow. It helps speed things up, and it's great to give you coloration, and it's a really versatile box in the studio in general to take you different places and to get you thinking differently about the sounds you're pursuing. So I'll be back again soon with another video. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.